Today's Sidemen Reacts, I thought we'd do something that we all know Josh loves. Talk about death.
My favourite. Great, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Like, you and Vic are the same. You both picked out these videos for me.
What was the one Vic picked?
It's actually quite interesting. It was more like a existential crisis one. How we're little,
So he was
tiny
actually
specks.
more... Yeah, his was probably more daunting for you, right?
Yeah, well, this is a more... I guess... I mean, you have to tell them what the video is first.
This is the strangest ways people died, Josh.
So this will now make you think of all the ways I could die, you know?
So maybe this is worse.
Who knows? We'll see.
It's certainly a morbid subject to discuss, but we've all likely talked to our friends about how we want to go
I do
out.
like these
No
animations.
doubt for a lot of people, dying quietly in their sleep would seem like a good option. A kind of painless, non-messy exit, perhaps involving one last dream.
What do you think about that?
What about dying in your sleep?
Yeah.
As long as it's at an age that is respectful sounds weird, but like an age that I'd expect to be dying in my sleep. If I died tonight in my sleep, that would be very, very awful.
God forbid, God forbid, God forbid.
You know what I'm saying? But if I was to die at an age where I'm old, where it'd be expected I could die in my sleep.
Do you know like how Queen Elizabeth died? Where it's like, okay, she's coming to the end of her days. Like she wasn't ill, but it was like, okay, like she's...
I think that's quite nice because then you can at least...
Then you can say your goodbyes.
Yeah, and I'm pretty big on saying like the key things for sleeping as well, to be fair.
Don't forget to turn off the lights and lock the doors.
I don't say that.
Those are key things, Josh. What, you leave your lights on and your doors open at night?
No. I don't say it, I just do it.
This planet slowly wasting away in pain.
That
or
looks
maybe
like
even
animation,
losing
by the
their
way.
minds. And while it might be fast, it's likely no one would like to go out in an extremely violent way. Then there's the ironic death, and there's plenty of those. We might recall the man in the US in the 80s who avoided the electric chair after appeal, then accidentally electrocuted himself in his cell and died. With that in mind, welcome to this episode of the Infographic Show, the strangest ways people have died.
Let's go.
The irony of dying while keeping fit. We'll give you just one famous example of a victim of irony, and that is the case of the former American jogging guru Jim Fixx. He wrote The Complete Book of Running in 1977, and it became a bestseller. In fact, he's said to be one of the main people that started what was called America's fitness revolution. Fixx had once been overweight and also a heavy smoker, but then he started his exercise regime, sold his books, and told the American people that running was the secret to having a long life and good health. He died of a heart attack while running when he was just 52 years old. Okay, so that's perhaps
because of his
not so
smoking habit?
strange. And
That's what I'm saying, is that because his
gotta be
previous
smoking.
life choices.
Yeah, it's got to be. If you smoke for like a long amount of time,
There's a high probability.
yeah, because you can have like blocked arteries and stuff, can't you? That's all you need, really.
Listen, don't smoke. Don't smoke, guys.
get stranger, but we just wanted to give you an example of death by
strange?
irony.
Okay.
12. Death by clothing. You've all heard news media write stories about what it calls draconian laws or rules. This just usually means out-of-date laws or laws that seem way too strict or even brutal. We get this adjective from a Greek lawmaker called Draco. In Athens in the 7th century BC, this man created laws that were said to be unfair, or at least unfair if you were not part of the wealthy group of people. His harsh legal code...
Is that not just laws today anyway?
Oh, you're going to get dicey on them.
The system is made for certain people. That's what I'm saying.
Could mean cruel punishments for even petty crimes. Nonetheless, it said he was popular at the time with the crowds, but in those days, the public did seem to enjoy watching blood being spilled. It said during one appearance in the Aeginetan Theater, the crowd wanted to show their adoration, so they threw their hats, cloaks, and shirts at him. But they went overboard, and it said Draco suffocated under the avalanche of clothing from his admirers. We should say that this is an old story passed down.
Someone threw a rocket at him instead.
It was drip or drown, bro.
One might question how it actually happened. Maybe they meant
to
kill
too
him,
hard for
but
real.
we'll never know what happened that fateful day. 11. Death by proving that something is safe. You may have heard about this one as it's popped up in various TV series from time to time. The story is of a Canadian lawyer called Gary Hoy. On July 9th, 1993, he was taking people on a tour of the Toronto Dominion Centre, a building of many floors with a lot of glass windows. He wanted to demonstrate to the people just how strong the windows were, as rightly some folks were concerned about such a high glass-fronted building. To do this, he did something he'd done before and threw himself at a glass window to show that the glass was very strong. He was right that the glass didn't smash, but on this occasion, the window popped out of its frame and Hoy fell all the way to his death. An engineer later told the Canadian media, "I don't know of any building code in the world that would allow a 160-pound man to run up against a glass and withstand it." That might have been some shock for the bystanders. 10. Same but different. This is another story of a lawyer trying to prove a point to people and in doing so, killed himself. The man was an American lawyer called Clement Vallandigham, and in 1871 he was representing a client that was accused of murder. The lawyer was trying to prove that the victim wasn't murdered but had accidentally...
Is that how you're built, Josh? With them legs?
Yeah, honestly. Fuck it, man.
That thigh gap, bro.
Yeah, we got the thigh gap.
Is that even a thing anymore? Did people care about that? I hadn't heard that in a minute.
True, yeah.
We're old, man.
He tried to show how this might have happened and accidentally shot himself. He died, but his clients got off the murder charge. 9. Death by beard.
I guess it works.
A tourism website in Austria tells us that people can visit the epitaph of a man called by beard. A tourism website in Austria tells us that people can visit the epitaph of a man called Hans Steininger. He was a mayor of Braunau in the 16th century and was well known for having a really long beard. We're told it was so long that if not tied, it would trail on the floor. One day, the poor guy was walking down the street and he tripped on his own beard, broke his neck, and died. To this day, his beard is kept in the local museum.
His beard's kept in a museum. Weird, but kind of cool.
Why would you keep a murderous beard in the museum?
It's not a murderous beard, it's just a beard that caused
killed
an
him.
accidental
Did
death.
it not kill him?
It wasn't a murder, it was simply a mere asset towards the death.
You keep giving your beard alibis for your death, Josh. Go on, do that.
I wonder how long it would take you to grow that.
Death by banana. Slipping on a banana skin is perhaps the best known gag joke. And of course, it doesn't happen very often. But searching online, we could find one death certificate from 1927 that did indeed blame a banana skin for the death of a man. The 74-year-old slipped and died in Tennessee. 7. Death by piano. If people do actually die from slipping on banana skins, do they also die by a piano falling on their heads? Well, someone actually investigated this, and that writer found at least one incident when a piano being pulled up a building had come crashing down on a person below. The website Straight Dope writes, in 1931, a piano was being hoisted up to a second-story window when a cornice broke free from the building, falling and killing a mover below.
Do you reckon there were any key witnesses?
Right. Yeah, I was waiting for some kind of piano pun.
And on that note,
did anyone see it?
On that note, sorry.
The most famous piano death out there was that of a strip club bouncer called Jimmy Ferrozzo. In 1983, at a club in San Francisco, he and his girlfriend had been making love on a piano that was connected to a hoist so it could be lowered down for performances and raised when it wasn't being used. This time, the piano was down on the floor, but during the act of passion, one of the two accidentally hit the switch and the piano was pulled up. Jimmy was consequently crushed against the ceiling, but we are told his lover survived the incident. 6. Killed by a bird. We can actually find a few instances of people being killed by birds, but this one has to be the strangest. It also involves a fair bit of karma. In 2011, a 35-year-old California resident called Jose Luis Ochoa was stabbed to death by a bird. The BBC writes that the man had been at an illegal cockfight and had taken with him a cock that had sharp spurs on its legs, which were more like little knives. The bird apparently turned on its owner, and he suffered what the coroner called a sharp force injury. A police spokesperson told the media, "I have never seen this type of an incident." No kidding. 5.
Death by a cock is crazy.
He took the cock and he got the cock inside him. Death by a cock.
Death by a cock is crazy.
5. Killing your son, the snake. In 2013, a Japanese man called Takuya Nagaya had apparently been acting a bit weird at his parents' apartment in Okazaki City.
It's the guy
He'd been slithering around like a snake. Of course, his father came to the rational conclusion that his son had been possessed by some kind of snake demon. He then did the next rational thing and took matters into his own hands. Well, we should say head and teeth. Reports tell us his son died from injuries sustained while the father was trying to get the snake out of him by biting and headbutting him. You can only imagine what the scene must have looked like. 4. A cow
just murdered his son.
The BBC reported in 2013 that a Brazilian man was killed in his bed when a cow came crashing down through his roof. Somehow the rather large animal got into his asbestos roof and fell right through it.
Shouldn't have slept under it.
Nice. Stop milking it now.
This wasn't the first time a cow had fallen through a roof in this rural area. The 45-year-old died from internal bleeding. 3. Death by slug. Many of us might have done some silly things just because.
Simon loves to give you that what do you call it? That dilemma, like
If the snail follows you, whatever.
Yeah, but if it catches up to you and touches you, you die.
That's light work. It just keeps telling to move, bro.
Yeah, but listen.
Everyone says the same thing as well. Like, you just fly to Australia and you work out how long it would take a snail to get there, and you move again after that. So by the time he's pretty much close.
What if that slug hitches a ride on someone's business?
Yeah, so you save yourself loads of time though.
Yeah, but you don't know when the slug's caught the flight. What if the flight was delayed?
So the slug.
What if it flew private?
So the slug might have got on a plane, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So as long as you're a distance from the airport, basically the slug has to get to the airport, land on a runway, hitch a ride.
You don't know when the slug's creeping up on you. The slug knows where you are. You don't know where the slug is.
You've got to keep on the move all the time.
Nah, because then you go close to the slug by accident, and
it's still got to touch you as well.
Yeah, but that's a slug. It's gonna create. Hey, you don't hear a slug's footsteps, Josh.
You could like sleep in like a bubble or something. You could sleep in one of those like safe, like what's the word, like airlock pods or something.
Let's see how the slug killed this person.
We were dared to do it, or we wanted to win some money or just show off. This goes wrong all the time, and you can find endless video clips of Darwin Award types of stunts online. In November 2018, the world's media reported the death of an Australian man called Sam Ballard, who had died aged 28. 8 years prior to his death, the skilled rugby player had been at a party with friends in Sydney. No doubt quite a bit of alcohol had been consumed, and during the party, a slug turned up on the scene. Ballard's friends, writes The Independent, dared him to eat the slug. That he did, but as a result, he became very sick. He was taken to a hospital, and it was found later that he had been infected by a parasite known as rat lungworm. This ended up paralyzing the young man, and was the reason he died some years later. 2. Death by cockroach.
8 years, Josh. 8 years of being ill and dying because of a slug.
It's actually the parasite, not the slug. Well, if you've seen those parasites that like take over an insect, and the insect just becomes the parasite, and that's what they do.
Oh my god.
Imagine a human one. Imagine a human parasite existed.
I don't want to imagine that.
Surely that's
why
feasible.
Would you want to imagine that? But why would you want to imagine
Big Star
that?
in his office. That is feasible to happen. That a parasite.
You get in your office and you have a look. You get in your office and have a look.
I haven't got a green screen. But it could happen at some point in time where like a parasite could come about out of nowhere, or it could like evolve and it can take over a whole human. Humans get worms. Humans do get parasites, but not to the level of like taking.
Have you ever got worms?
Have you ever got worms? No.
Yeah.
You know you can get like mad worms, like the ones that like you can proper pull out of fucking worm.
Yeah, I know.
Craziness.
Wow. You know what? I watched a video on that in science when I was like in secondary school, and I got super paranoid that I had worms for like the next month. I didn't.
Grim. Imagine a worm. Like it grows inside you and then just literally becomes you.
I don't want to imagine worms.
It gets inside your brain.
I don't want to imagine anything
and
inside
becomes
me.
You.
Death by cockroach. You shouldn't eat slugs, and you also probably shouldn't eat cockroaches.
Don't eat things
the BBC tells us that
alive.
in 2012, a man from Florida by the name of Edward Archbold had entered himself into a live cockroach eating competition.
Why?
He had done well, devouring dozens of
had a cockroach in his mouth.
but it also killed him. The coroner ruled that his death was caused by asphyxia due to choking and aspiration of gastric contents. In short, he had choked on cockroach body parts. 1. The body of Christ. We know that some Christians will take into their mouths something that symbolizes the body of Christ. But one Canadian man took this a step further in 1987. According to the Toronto Globe and Mail, a man called Franco Brune had been taken in by police and left in the cells. It turns out that in the cell, the man had made use of a small Gideon's Bible by swallowing it. He choked to death on it. News reports tell us that for this mentally unwell man, the swallowing of the Bible to him was some form of symbolism or allegory, as though he was trying to purge himself of the devil by consuming religion. What's the strangest death you've heard about? Tell us in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other show, What If Hitler Had Won? Thanks for watching, and as always,
it's pretty interesting.
I want to know the answer.
It's a very interesting channel, this infographics channel, I'm not gonna lie. And I feel like we're also losers because we could have if we hired some sick animators, we could make these channels ourselves. Think how much money we could have made. React to our own reactions.
React to our own infographics.
Yeah, we'd have been barking off.
That would be sick. Well, maybe another time. Thanks for watching.